Welcome into the Flagship Podcast, everybody. I am Chip Brown of Horns247.com, joined by the head coach of the UTSA Roadrunners, who will be taking on the Longhorns this Saturday night at DKR, 7 o'clock on the Longhorn Network. The one and only Jeff Traylor. Coach, how you doing?
Good, Chip. Good morning.
You had a long trip to Army. Who schedules Army? I mean, that is just a killer. The triple option, you're going on the road, but you pull it out 41-38 in overtime. You got to fly all the way back, and now you're getting ready for the Longhorns. But let's go back to West Point. What did you like about that game? And your team is only playing overtime games. They got a lot of metal.
Just that, just the adversity we've had to face these first 2 weeks. It's really going to prepare us for our conference. You find out about people when things get hot, right? It's pretty easy to be a human being when it's 72 and sunny and breezy outside, and all your putts are going in and no balls are going out of bounds, right? And obviously, when you play a team as good as Houston, as good as Army, especially Army on the road, our flight was delayed for 5 hours, so we got to the hotel at 9:30 at night. No walkthrough, no meetings. Turn around, got an early kick the next morning. Kids didn't blink. They just didn't. We weren't as sharp and as crisp as I'd like to be in certain areas. But once the second half got going, we really got going and responded very well.
What was going on with the flight?
Just had to bring in a part to replace it on the plane from Austin, believe it or not. And then it was a 10-minute delay, then a 30-minute delay, then a 2-hour delay, then a 4-hour delay, ended up being a 5-hour delay.
Well, Jeff, you played Houston in week 1. You were up 21-7 in that game. Frank Harris throws an uncharacteristic interception. It leads to a game-time touchdown. That game goes into triple overtime. What did you learn about your team in that game? Obviously, Houston was a 12-win team last year. What did you learn about your team in that week 1 game?
Well, unfortunately, all those moves were self-inflicted. I mean, we didn't protect correctly, and Frank gets hit, tip, goes right to him, of course. And we just on momentum got on their side, and we weren't good enough to get it back. And our kids were incredibly competitive. We went on a 20-second drive to kick a field goal. 20 seconds, no timeouts. 22 maybe to be exact. And hit the field goal to go to overtime, and then we went to triple overtime and just didn't get it done. And that one's the kind it stays with you for a while. So I was worried about that hangover for my team. And Army was very good, and they had lost to a very good Coastal Carolina team. So you had two teams that really pride themselves on how hard they play, both coming off very tough losses. I mean, Jeff Monken at Army has done a fantastic job there for so long. And to go up there in front of all the cadets and, the environment up there is just incredible. And for us to come out there with a victory, we could be 2-0, we could be 0-2. And we are 1-1, and that's probably right where we should be, Chip.
Well, you faced adversity in that Army game. You missed a couple field goals. They took you down to the goal line and went for it a couple times and had success. But your guys responded. I mean, Frank Harris, what stood out to you in that Army game that you're going to take away?
Nothing. I see them every day, right? So there's nothing that those guys did that surprised me at all, ever. I guess where I'd never played there before. Basically, you dress in a dugout, like right behind the field. You don't even enter the field. Like you just disappear down in a dugout. And it's like a dungeon down in there. I mean, there's no air circulating. It's just hot as it can be. And that was something I wish I'd have prepared my kids a little bit better for. I just didn't realize how different that was. Like, you don't enter the field. You literally like come up a little tunnel and there you are on the sideline. So I was prepared for the cadets and all the flyovers and the cannons. And I prepared my kids for that. Parachutes dropping out of the sky, balls coming in. You can imagine the pageantry when you're playing the Army, how beautiful it is. We had done all that. I regret not having a better situation for my kids. We didn't stay in very long at halftime. We came right back out. It was just smothering inside there.
Yeah, I mean, and then your team guts it out. Frank, what do you convert a 2nd and 18?
That was the play of the game, I thought. One, he broke a tackle, and then, we just left a lot on the field the week before. We did not play our A game. We played hard, but I've always believed, this is my 18th year to be a head coach. There's about 4 or 5 games a year where you can just reach in that tank and give that one where everybody's talking about it. The other 10, you got to play. You got to find a way to get it done without feeling your best. And that's kind of how I felt. We played, Chip. We played very hard. It just wasn't our A game, but we found a way to get out of there. We might have played better the week before, honestly, and lost, not taking away from my kids in this game. But I did tell them to be careful to not always judge yourself by winning and losing. You should always judge yourself on how well did you play the game, right? And I know that just bothers people to no end because they think it's all about winning and losing. But there's a certain standard. We really believe in our hashtag 210 Triangle Toughness culture, our brand. And when we show up and we represent the brand, I can handle that. And I don't like it when we don't. And we made some mental mistakes early in this game that bothered me, that got us off to a rough start. But my kids just battled through like they always do. They are some tough kids. I love them and they love me, and they always give me all they've got. And I'm forever grateful to be coaching these kids. And we're not perfect. Don't get me wrong. You're going to see that Saturday, but we'll play hard.
Well, you had some question marks coming into the season. You had to replace Sincere McCormick at running back. You bring in Traylon Smith from Arkansas. Talk about your running game and what you've seen from it so far.
We lost our 4 offensive tackles, left and right, 1 and 2. So we went into the year knowing that we were going to be shorthanded, and then we lost our right tackle the 6th play of the game against Houston. So we've had a walk-on at right tackle, Frankie Martinez from the city, who's done a fantastic job just competing for us. And our left tackle, we moved a guard out there, Vinley. And you can imagine starting out against 2 great opponents like Houston and Army with a guard at left tackle and a walk-on at right tackle. So I'm really proud of how our kids have competed. Now you're asking, why in the heck are you giving me an injury report right now? That's not the question. You asked me about the running game. Well, it's just kind of affected us up front right now. We're not as clean as we'd like to be on our targets. We did run the ball much better against Army, and Brendan and Traylon both had much more success, but we could not run the ball hardly at all against Houston, which is disappointing. But I repeat, those kids up front are giving me all they've got. We do think we'll get all 4 offensive tackles back at some point in the season. We hope to get one back this week, maybe another one in another week, and maybe another one in 2 more weeks after that. So we're going to have some depth if we can keep these guys healthy and get everybody back. But we want to be committed to running the football. We know how good those 3 receivers are. We know how good our quarterback is. But you got to be able to run the ball to win championships.
Well, your quarterback, Frank Harris, is unbelievable. The guy just makes plays. And you've got some experience back at receiver. How do you like the way you're throwing the football?
It's the level we've never thrown it at before. Those 3 kids have played a long time for us. I mean, our center and both guards have started for 3 years. We lost our right tackle right now. He would have been a 3-year starter. Our tight end's been playing for 3 years. Those 3 receivers have been playing for 3 years. My quarterback's been playing for 3 years. So we look the way we should look as far as throwing the football. Where we don't look great is just our protections, and we're up front. We're just really having to help those tackles right now, and we're going to continue to try to do that. And Frank's legs have been great to get us out of some binds, and those receivers have been making some plays for us to move the ball. We're really efficient at throwing the football, and he's a good football player. He's the heart and soul of our team. He loves this city. We vote for those single digits, and Frank, got every vote on the team as coaching staff and players, which is pretty remarkable.
I mean, the kid is so much fun to watch because he just battles, and you think he's going to make every play. I mean, that's who he is. Defensively, you got pressure on Houston. 4 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. Talk about what you're seeing up front from your defense.
Yeah, that's where we're the most improved, and I know that's hard to believe because we were so good on defense, but we're really deep on defense. We rotate a lot of players. Really, really pleased with how hard those kids are playing. I know we got torn up in the air against Army, but that was a conscious decision made by the head coach that we were going to do everything in our power to stop the trap, the dive, the quarterback, and the pitch, and we did that. I think we held 170-something yards rushing. Yeah, granted, nobody likes to give up 300 in the air, but if I'm going to go down to Army, that's the way I'm going down. I don't want to go down to them having 500 yards rushing and me not have the ball the entire game. At least they were scoring fast, so we got the ball back, and we could go back and get the tempo the way we wanted the game to go and not play Army's tempo. But I'm sure my San Antonio Chip Browns will be grilling me here in about 30 minutes about our pass defense.
Hey, well, you brought in some transfers. I mentioned Traylon Smith, and you brought in Nick Troy Fortune from West Virginia, and Jared Sackett, your kicker, Quentin Cage, Chris Carpenter, a wide receiver, an offensive tackle, Payne Hebert from Northwestern. How have the transfers helped you?
Yeah, Payne was going to be the starter, and he got injured in fall camp, so we'll get him back later in the season. That was a huge loss. He's a wonderful kid. Traylon's done a fantastic job, rotating back there at running back. Had a huge run in overtime to get us down the field. Nick Fortune starting at corner from West Virginia, just a great human being as well, like Trey and Payne. Big Joe Evans, the LSU defensive tackle, 335 pounds, has done a fantastic job for us as well. Booker Brown from North Carolina State out of Houston is playing really well for us. There's a Pig who did a really good job. Didn't get to play as much against Army because of our packages, but he played well against Houston. Those kids have been great for us. But they've also blended in with some guys that have been playing a long time for us. Both those linebackers, Jamal Liggins, Trevor Harmonson, 3-year starters, Rashad Wisdom, 3-year starter, Adrian Taylor, number 7, 3-year starter, Brandon Brown out of Houston, our nose guard, started for us last year. So it's just a nice blend over there. And that's the key. You got to be able to play great defense and run the football. And Frank and our receivers know that they're important, but they know for us to repeat as conference champions, how good are we on defense and how well we run the ball. And you mentioned Jared Sackett, which is another good player. He has 2 clutch kicks against Houston. And, the game winner Saturday took off right down the middle, and then it's like it looked like my golf shot. It just got blown to the right really hard and really fast. And I asked him how he thought he hit it. He said, Coach, I really hit it well. And that thing just went right. I mean, if you'll look back at the end zone copy of that, it's the dangest thing you've ever seen. It was headed right down the middle, and all of a sudden just blew to the right.
Wow. Pig Cage, that's got to be one of the great names in college football this year.
Yeah, Pig's out of Louisiana, out of New Orleans down there. And I tell all those kids that since my son coaches for the Saints, we're gonna stay in New Orleans recruiting. That's a free trip for me to go down there and recruit and see my boy. I'm teasing Dr. Campos. That's a joke. But yeah, we have some connections down there in the city, and he's a really good football player that no doubt all-name team. He's got a brother named Quincy that's on our team as well, wide receiver.
All right, we'll take a quick break, come right back with Jeff Traylor, head coach of the UTSA Roadrunners. And if you're watching us on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel, we'll roll on. Jeff, want to get your thoughts on this game against Texas. The Longhorns play an unbelievable game against Alabama. They come out on the losing end, 20-19. It looks like Quinn Ewers, the quarterback, is going to be out for at least a month, and Hudson Card's dealing with an ankle sprain. But what stood out about the Longhorns that you've seen?
I feel for Coach Sarkisian just because I've been through that. My first year here, we went through 4 quarterbacks, and in the first 4 games. So it's so hard to replace that. It just causes such chaos in the building. But in saying that, I think he's as good a quarterback coach and a play caller as there is in the country. I've studied Steve personally, as my coaching staff has, for years. I think he's just a great designer of offenses, and whichever quarterback he goes with, he'll give that kid a good plan, and he'll give those kids a really good opportunity to be successful. The upgrade of the talent is the first thing I would say I noticed. It's just their roster just looks bigger, thicker, faster. You can tell they're older. And, this is a crazy thing to say, but I'm not sure the best team on the field won Saturday. I really thought that Texas outplayed them. And just a couple of it reminded me of us in Houston, right? It was painful. And of course, I always root for the teams for Texas, and I know everybody gives me heck about that too, but I root for Texas teams. And so I was obviously rooting for the Horns. And defensively, they're so much more physical, and the way they run the ball now, they're just much more attacking on defense. And obviously, they're special teams. They've got great players out there, and they're physical as well. So a lot of respect from us on our end over here. And we know we're going into a matchup with some players that are gifted, but we feel like we've got good players too.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where you're probably not going to have to come up with the Newt Rockne speech, right? Because your players are going to be fired up for this one.
Yeah, we hope that we're no different every week. That's what every coach would say, but we all understand that sometimes there are certain games that are just going to get the guys up. And I wish that people didn't even use the word G5 and Power 5. I think it's almost like some type of a slight to those programs that are G5, and I don't even know where it's driven from. I'd have to do more research to understand all that. But if anybody understands that, we do, because that's all it's all everywhere we go, we're G5, G5, G5. And we want to represent our brand, what we're about. And as long as our kids do that Saturday, we'll be fine.
Talk about your fans and what kind of showing you expect on Saturday.
No, it's funny because we have a group text on our coaching staff, and all those guys were, trying to get tickets. We're all swapping and helping each other out, and they were all asking if anybody have an extra ticket. And I said, I think I need 85. So it's kind of a joke, but it's not a joke, right? I've got classmates from 30 years ago that I haven't heard from in years, and they want to be at this game, right? So our fans, they're just like any fans. When you win 12 games, they get spoiled pretty quick, right? And they want to see 12 every year. I try to remind them there's only been 10 teams in the history of Texas football that have ever won 12 games. So that doesn't happen very often. So I'm trying to cool their jets a little bit, Chip, but they're not listening to me. They think the Roadrunners should win all of them, and they expect us to go there and just beat the Horns at Austin this weekend. And I'm like, well, let's go try to do it.
What's the message to your guys this week?
It's the same every week. It's about our brand. It really is. Can we be the most physical football team on the field defensively? I mean, when we leave, it's Chip Brown and that crowd are going to be talking about, good gosh, those guys play hard on defense. Offensively, we pride ourselves on running the football. We're not real good at doing it right now. We're going to continue to work at that. And then thirdly, our special teams, man, playing good players out there. That is a triangle tuck that's going to really show up. Our culture pillars, our single-digit guys going to lead. Are we going to be – it's easy to lead when things are going well. There's going to be some tough moments Saturday night because you're playing against a very, very good team in a hostile environment coming off, the number one team in the country. And arguably, you could go back and name 8 plays in that game where you say, if they would have done this, that, this, and that, who knows where Texas would be ranked this morning. I thought they played an incredible ball game. And we just want to make sure and represent the brand and let me worry about timeouts and play call and all that nonsense. They just need to go out there and play to the very best of their ability and let me handle all that other stuff.
Jeff, anything else you think is important for folks to know about your team right now heading into this game?
We've got to continue to just keep getting better and eliminate some things that have shown up in the first 2 games, and that's really all we got. And we are a work in progress. Our kids that are returning are playing really well, and the kids that we're blending in are getting more adapted to our culture, and we feel really good about our team. We really think we've got a really good football team, and we've got a couple of areas we're deficient right now with injuries, but we're doing our best to try to scheme that and protect that, and we'll find out a lot Saturday because that D line, Bo's done a heck of a job over there, man. Those guys are really playing hard, and tip of the hat to what he's done and how hard those kids play.
Well, I flipped on the radio yesterday, and Scott Frost is out at Nebraska, and Jeff Traylor's name was one of the first names I heard as a possible replacement. So when they're talking about you like that, it means you're doing a really good job. And Jeff, you've put UTSA football on the map in a way that we haven't seen before. And I know I'm really looking forward to Saturday night. I've said Texas better be ready, better be focused, because this could be a wild one. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, Chip. Much respect to all you guys over there. Y'all done a heck of a job, and we know we're going to have our hands full Saturday.
Well, and thanks to everybody for listening to the Flagship Podcast interview. For Jeff Traylor, I am Chip Brown of Horns247.com. Until next time, stay safe and keep the faith.